Okay, so let's start. And if you have any question at the end of the presentation, you can do it, or if you prefer to do it privately, you can send me a message later by Slack, okay? Okay, as an introduction, we are going to talk about why did we create this virtual of UI UX design office, okay? And the main objectives are grow and improve the processes of the UX UI area at Sympatech. We think it is a good that the whole Sympatech team has this information about the stages of the design process from research to product testing, understand the importance of UX UI because it is something we do daily as a company, and have clear and quality information is if someone from the team wants to learn about UX UI design. So let's talk about a little bit about UX design. We know that the main objective of any business is to increase its sales and increase business growth. For this reason, UX UI design plays a fundamental role in achieving these objectives because it improves the user experience and customer satisfaction. This attracts a greater number of people to use the product and services, and UX UI design helps gain consumer trust and makes them use your app or website by giving your user what they are looking for. The number of customers you're getting to your website or app can measure the success of a product. And this is another reason to create this virtual office because we want you to know about fundamental concepts, essential skills, tools that we use, and why each of the phases of the design is so important to develop software according to the needs of the stakeholders. So we know that users have many options and alternative for products or services. The time you can capture the attention of your user is very short, and you need to get it right in that small space of time. So considering today technological advances, business priorities are likely to focus on improving customer experience and generating new forms of income. I'm sorry. We know that the goal of most products is to generate simplified solutions for complex problems. And UX UI play a vital role in product development, advancement, and has become the hallmark of this purpose, okay? So we are going to talk about why UX UI is so important. I put 5 reasons here. And the first one is because attracting and engaging users, you have to be able to understand what could work for users with the right approach. When a new user visits the app or your website, the first steps are very important because the first impression or your product will determine if they will continue browsing or just leave of the website or of the app. So engaging user in seconds is critical. We should keep them interested in digging deeper into the app without making it too difficult for them to navigate. And for example, it's our responsibility as a UX designers that they can navigate in the most efficient way possible. And the first impression we know that lasts a long time, and a good UX can make or break brand recognition. So we as a designer play a key role in order to build brand value and company reputation. So we have this here, this interesting phrase here that says, if business are able to implement user-centric strategies, it will definitely be converted into an increase in customer satisfaction and retention. And the result of retaining the user will mean, earning money. And in other way, a poorly designed user experience can drastically decrease those earnings. So this is why it's important. And the other one is, the second one is the ease of use. We know that a mix of UI UX is the perfect solution to make an app user-friendly for a certain target market. Comfortable products are something that most users value. For this reason, apps and devices were invented to make their life easier. Users must be able to navigate through the product without obstructions. This could also result in the simplicity of a product, which will most likely indicate whether or not the application will be successful. For example, have you ever wondered why most mobile apps have their menu at the bottom, like in this GIF, instead of the usual top menu on desktop? This pattern is the most popular for a reason. Based on UX studies, it makes navigation easy as it stays in the same position no matter what page you're viewing. It's easier to proceed on what you want to do on a particular screen. So this is easier for the user. And the third one is user retention. It is the secret of keeping your eyes coming back to use the app every day. The UX UI design helps gain consumer trust and make them use your app or website by giving them what they are looking for. For us, the number of consumers you are getting to your website or app can measure the success of a great product. Okay, one example can be social networks. These apps are really well made that catch your attention, and it's difficult for most of the people to leave this kind of apps, like TikTok. We have this screen of TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram. Some important things for user retention, which involve this great experience. For example, our feedback loops, continuous tweaks, and redesign for feature based on data and maintaining a balanced first impression. And the fourth one is user-centric, okay? Develop a user interface with empathy to the user. We know that empathy is the sense, means understanding how a certain group of users will use your product. The most important one here to create a product is to design for the user and their task. For example, we have here this image that shows us that we must study our target well and not only analyze it in general way, because as we can see, they share the same age, gender, city where they grew up, and even both are rich. However, they are totally different, a totally different target, because each one has a very particular aspect. For example, tastes, activities they do, and even challenges they face every day. That is why we must know their lifestyle, okay? Here's a persona shouldn't be about demographic, persona should be about the problems and challenge that people face. And the last one is the business growth. UX UI focus on the user satisfaction and display an important role in a business success. Your product can influence your potential customers' decision to take advantage of your services, product or not. We know that here in the IT world is an innovative industry, and since it has become very competitive, UX design becomes business growth and revenue, and is crucial to business reputation. So now we are going to talk about and understand the difference between UX UI. Maybe until now you may be wondering what's the difference between UX UI. Let me tell you that both are really different, but one cannot live without the other when we design a product. For example, here, user experience is the overall experience a user has with a company's product or services. And a good or bad user experience design is determined by how easy or difficult it is to interact with each element or aspect of a product or service. So if a product doesn't appeal to a certain group of users, it's likely to go unnoticed. So UX design mainly loves research, to understand things like customer pain points, potential market gaps, and competitor analysis. UX also takes into account the business goals and objectives to build products that aligns with the company's vision and mission. And UX best practices improve user interaction and perception of products and services as desired by the company. For example, we have this image here that you have to be a good UX design, have to be usable, findable, credible, accessible, desirable, useful, and valuable. Okay. And now we are going to talk about UI design. It is user interface design. This is focused on the look and layout, how each element of the product will look. I'm sorry, including a style, buttons, placeholders, text images, checkboxes, any visual interface element that people interact with. For example, we have this image of a brain here of the difference between UX and UI. Here you can see, for example, UX is interaction design, wireframes and prototypes, information architect, user research, scenarios, and in UI we have visual design, colors, graphic designer, layouts, typography. Okay, and here we have another example with a captured bottle. The first one is that it looks good, as you can see. However, the second one is more functional and comfortable to use. Okay, so in other words, we can say that UX is like the brain of the whole project, and UI is like the body or the appearance. Okay. Okay, then we are going to talk about design methodologies. To carry out project, we use certain methodologies. For example, I'm going to talk about you in a general way about the design thinking because it is very large. You can find this information in the UI UX virtual office in Confluence. Well, the design thinking is an iterative process in which you seek to understand your users, challenge assumptions, redefine problems, and create innovative solutions that can be prototyped and tested. For example, design thinking is more than just a process. It opens up a new way of thinking and offers a collection of practical styles to help you to apply this new way of thinking. And design thinking, for example, brings together what is desirable from a human point of view with what is technologically feasible and economically viable. Okay, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the 5 stages of the design thinking. This is a methodology that we use almost all the time because it's very popular, it's very useful. So this stage 1 is here, that is empathize, is research your user's need. For example, here you should gain an empathetic understanding of the problem you're trying to solve through user research. Empathy is crucial to a human-centered design process, such as design thinking, because it allows you to set aside your own assumptions about the world and gain real insight into users and their needs. The second one here is define. Here you state your user needs and problems. And here is time to accumulate the information that you obtain during the empathize stage. You here, for example, analyze your observation and synthesize them to define the core problems that you and your team have identified. These definitions are called problem statement. And here you can create, for example, personas. We was talking about that to help keep your effort human-centered before proceeding to the ideate phase, that is the stage 3. Here you challenge assumptions and you create your own ideas. You are ready to generate, for example, the first sketches. You have a solid background of knowledge from the first 2 phases here. And you can, for example, can start to think outside the box. For example, you can look for alternatives, ways to view the problems and identify innovative solutions to the problem statement you created. The brainstorming in this phase is very, very useful here. So let's move on to the stage 4, that is prototype. This is when you start to create the solutions. This is an experimental phase. The objective is to identify the best possible solution for each problem found. Here, for example, your team should produce some inexpensive versions of product to investigate the ideas. This could involve paper prototyping, sketching, and you also can do low fidelity wireframes here in prototype. And the last one is test. Okay, here you try your solutions out. For example, people like stakeholders or real users test the prototypes. This is called the final phase, but design thinking is an iterative. And the team often use the result to redefine one or more problems that you could find in the future, or maybe an upgrade or change. So you can return to previous stages to make iterations and refinements to find the best solutions. Okay, this is an iterative process. And your goal here with design thinking is to gain the deepest understanding of the users and what their ideal solution would be. Okay, so those are topics very interesting. You can find more information about design thinking and all the things that I'm going to talk here in the office. Okay. The next one are, for example, we use, for example, UX tools, and we have to know how to collect information. We know that the design process is very deep, and if we want to acquire customers, we need to know that what users are doing on the website or our mobile app. We need to know where the users are coming from, how long they spend on a specific sub pages, how they navigate between pages, what they click, and how we can improve this experience. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 2 popular tools here that are Google Analytics and HOTJAR. Google Analytics is an excellent tool for market research, traffic research, and marketing campaign performance. And also is one of the best free tools that you can use to do in-depth research on UX websites and apps. For example, the UX goal is to create more convenient, better converting interface, and the best way to judge it is by numbers. Okay, so if we decide that UX is to solve business problems, I mean, the process has roughly 4 stages. For example, the first one is finding the problem, second, analysis, solution, and assessment of the results. Okay, here in Google Analytics, for example, as you can see, you can obtain a complete information and help you to understand your sites and app, to have a better performance of your marketing, content, products, and more. You have you can have here, for example, a lot of numbers, the amount of clicks, and for example, you here you know which screens are under aspect to focus your energy on. It is worth estimating which screens are the most popular in your website and where the website loses the user's interest. Identify bad points on your website, for example, or or in your app, okay? And you will be able to correct them, okay, with this tool. It's a very useful tool. And the second one is HOTJAR. This is a suite of analytics tools that help you gather qualitative data. That's the stuff that isn't numbers. We here are talking about more like heat maps, click tracking, user polls, surveys, and more. And how HOTJAR works. There are 4 tools inside HOTJAR that reveals what traditional analytic data doesn't. For example, visualize use behavior, see what users see, get feedback with context, and hear from your users. For example, here there is a heat map. Heat maps visually represent where user clicks, move and scroll on your site, and with this context, you learn how user really behave, for example. And for example, you can see see what the user see. You can hear, for example, watch full recording of each user's visit, including their clicks, mouse movements, and rage clicks to identify issues in seconds. And for example, you can obtain feedback from your user that express frustration or delight about individual parts of your site. If they like your product or not. And service, you can, for example, if you have seen in a website a survey to validate your idea and better understand the users. Okay, this is like an extension that you put inside your website in a code, and yeah, it's a very helpful tool to analyze your website or your apps. Okay, we are going to talk about UX tools. We know that from doing the first sketch exercise to working on the finished product, every stage of the product design is made with some user interface design tools. And I'm going to mention some of the most popular, okay? And those, for example, are FIGMA. Is a design tool that lets you create designs for mobile app and web interface or any other kind of product design. Figma is a collaboration tool for teams and individuals to create and share high quality work. You can here use it to make prototype interactions, animate transitions, and multiple artboards, and commenting and feedback features, I mean, to get real-time collaboration on the go. It is my favorite tool right now. I use it in every step of the process because they have a Figma Jam too. That is a tool inside Figma, and here you can create workflows, sketches, pause it to write information, collect data, diagrams, and more. And I think it's a very, very complete software. So I recommend you if you want to start to do some product or design, something like that. And the second one that I'm going to talk about is Adobe XD. This is a powerful tool, it's very popular too. It's for digital design and is similar to Figma, but has a wide range of features and apps, for example, because it's connected with CC Cloud, Adobe CC, Creative Cloud, I mean. And for example, here you can do wireframes, mockups, interactive prototypes. This tool, as I told you, is very similar to Figma, but you have to pay to use it. And Figma is free until now because Adobe both Figma. But if you pay, for example, in Figma, if you just pay if you want to work as a team, but if you work alone, you can use it for free. So Adobe XD is my second favorite because you can use it with Photoshop and Illustrator and that kind of tools. So another tools that I'm going to talk about, if you have to obtain more information, as I told you, you can read more about each of these tools in the office, UX UI office. So other tools, as I told you, can be Sketch, Miro, Balsamic, InVision, Zeppelin, and of course, all the Adobe Creative Cloud like Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, that, for example, we use every day, because in Photoshop, you can use it for modify pictures, change the color of an image. In Illustrator, for example, you can do logos, illustrations, mockups, and in After Effects, you can make animation videos to put into your product design. In Balsamic, you can sketch, and in Miro is a collaboration tool too. Those are very interesting if you want to learn one of them or all of them. You can send me a message and I can give you like more information about it, okay? So the last topic that I'm going to talk about is UX UI at Simpat in order to respond to the needs of a good user experience for all types of products. At Simpat, we are using our grown project UX methodology based on the application of the usual standards that we already handle and adapt to the reality of our client. However, it is inspired by design thinking. I have to say that the methodology that we are implementing is very flexible and is designed to adapt to the needs of the project and according to their degree of complexity, for example, emphasizing the most relevant elements in each case. And in addition, in other projects, we incorporate add value elements based on our experience and knowledge, such as data analysis and the feasibility of the project with technologies that are handled in the company. And you know that for Simpat the goal of our client is our goals. I'm sorry. For this reason, we seek to satisfy the needs of potential users and our clients. We want to meet the client expectations and make it easier for the user to achieve their goals in a simple, functional, and intuitive way. I'm going to talk about this methodology that consists first to have a brief. For example, we create this methodology that, for example, you have to collect all this information. The first one have to be the challenge of the project. For example, we have to create a proposal based on the general analysis of the product. The second one is the key deliverables. For example, what kind of deliverables we are going to give to the client. For example, if we are going to create a flow map or we are going to make a general analysis of existing screens. And for example, we have to do brainstorming, creation of prototypes in low or high fidelity. with the purpose of generating improvement proposals, for example, that will be contemplated with the team in general. And if we are going to do mock-ups or wherever we are going to do, we have to write all this information. And the third one are stakeholders who are going to be in charge of the project or who are interested in the project. For example, the project manager, the CEO, the clients, maybe some users. I don't know. It all depends of the project. And we have to write the list of participants. For example, the client, the project manager. If we are going to be working with a team as 1, 2, 3 developers, how many UI UX specialists are going to collaborate in this project, QA testing, for example. Then we have to write the project overview. We have to write the current state of the project. For example, the first observation for improvements. There is already a previous product and it is going to be redesigned or improved. If this is not the case, it is start from the initial requirement. If it's a complete new project, for example, you have to write each of the elements that you are going to change if exists, for example, some screens, or if it's a new project, what kind of functionality or features you are going to add. Analyze all the things, for example, the color palette, the bottoms, and hierarchy in text. Okay, and the next one you have to write is current customer profile. For example, you have to write a description about the main user or the target. You have to write the roadblocks. For example, direct access to the demo of the app is needed to be able to carry out the corresponding investigation. For example, flow maps that helps the team to know what the real navigation of the site is like. Early wins create viable solutions for site optimization, as well as real day-to-day usability improvements based on proposal from UX UI experts. And we have to write, and this is very important, an estimate launch plan. For example, we have to write the estimate time of project development, sprint schedule, each phase of the design. In this methodology, the time may vary between 1 or 2 weeks, all depending on the project manager and the project, of course, or the client. Okay. For example, in this methodology that we propose are different phases. For example, the phase 1 is understand. We divide it into 5 weeks. For example, the first week or the first phase or stage is learn information and problem analysis, definition of processes and resources. For example, design, the devs, PM, product goal and user goal, design sprint creation. For example, how many times we are going to use for each phase of the project. In the phase 2 is ideate and decide. We have to collect an analysis of the product, user persona, creation, problem statement, pain points, brainstorm solution, sketching paper, generation of flow map or information architecture, architecture. The week 3 or the phase 3 is prototype. Here you can start to do low fidelity wireframing like this one, or workflow layouts, or maybe start to think about the final design or maybe the concept of the design. And the phase 4 or the week 4 is testing. For example, you have here the post-testing findings. For example, if you collect information and feedback by the clients, devs, and PMs, here we can check final details or improvements of the proposed designs. And we have here the approval of screens in low fidelity or mid fidelity. All this depends of the time, okay? And the final phase is final prototyping. Here we improve the post-test findings. We create wireframes in high fidelity. We create the interactive prototypes, and we deliver assets to developers, okay, to start the production of the app or the website. Okay, one thing here in this methodology that we propose, each phase or week can be iterated as many times as needed until a functional product is obtained for the client and suitable for the functions required by the users, and can take you 1 or 2 weeks on each phase, or depending on the project. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a little bit about resources to learn UX UI. For example, on the last page of the UX Virtual Office, you will find a lot of information about resources, different resources to learn about UX UI design. You can enter and see all the content. For example, here I put blogs, videos, articles, courses, and certifications, design libraries, case studies to read, among others. And I really invite those who are interested to check out this huge list that I did for those who are curious about this work. So, as I told you, you can find all this information and more. And if you want that I talk or we talk about a specific topic, or you are interested in a specific topic to deepen, you can contact me on Slack, and I can do another tech talk in the future, okay, to talk about it. I don't know if you have any questions or comments related to the topic.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the UI tools or UX tools that you mentioned, I mean, I know you create the design there, but at the end, do you export something like a prototype that the developers can use, or this is just a design?
Oh, in this one, or
I don't know.
Well, for example, there are different ways to share your design. For example, in prototype, you just share the link and you can watch the interact prototype, for example. And if you want to share assets, for example, like PNG or an images or a logo or something like that, you can export the images. Yes,
but for example, if you are designing a website, does it export the HTML or
no? No. Just the no. You can have some code, but not the entire code.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it's just for the design and for the interactive design. For example, here, as you can see, we have this flow. You can connect to do an interactive prototype. and you can connect each button, but it works more like a mock-up or like
Okay.
animation. Yes, but it's not the real or the final product. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just
I got it.
okay. Uh, and another question, if you have.
Yes, it's really interesting because it's something that always is not in the development process for the software. But well, I was wondering also about the moment that is the proper moment to integrate all your work, because at the
Mhm,
beginning in a big project, what you define first is the abstraction of the domain. I mean, the whole universe of the application or the topic that you're translating into one website or solution. But
mhm,
from the beginning, I think it's very important to include your tasks. I mean, from
mhm,
branding to logo creation and the layout of the site. It's really important, but I'm not. I don't identify clearly where in the process is the best moment to include all this process of the design. I mean,
mhm,
finally, you're creating logos, layouts, the mockups. But
mhm,
I remember sometime I saw a traducer or something, a tool that goes from Photoshop files to HTML things or something like that. But finally,
mhm,
there is a gap between the mockups and the final working site.
mhm.
So, what would be the precise moment to include all your labor uh, in order to integrate this in the software development process? And what are those resources that would be usable in the final product?
Mhm. Well, for example, we have to start with the research of the product. We use the design thinking methodology to do that. Uh, I recommend if you have some project, for example, to do an MVP, that is the most viable product, and you have to start to interviewing your users and your clients, for example, and then you are going to start the whole process of design thinking, the brainstorming, and then you are going to move to sketch, prototype, and you have to understand the product in the deepest way to do your first main MVP. I think you have to integrate the main functions. For example, if I going to design a delivery app, for example, it's just an example, like Uber or Didi or Rappi, I don't know. You have to analyze what kind of functionalities or features are the basics to put into your design, and you have to divide it into phases. For example, the phase the stage one or the phase one, you have to add the main functions. For example, what kind of functions do I want to add? Um, for example, in the delivery apps, we have pictures, we have descriptions about the products, we have the I don't know, maybe the size of the portion, the numbers of the items that you want to to deliver, and the checkout process. And yeah, you have to think first to do the minimum possible uh, for um, for your product. I don't know if I'm explaining well. You have to think first if your product are going to be well accepted for your user. you have to put first and think what are the main functions that I have to have in my product to, I don't know, to the user accept my product. Yeah, you don't have to add another features. Maybe you can divide it into different stages. For example, in the next stage, you can add a pin to share with your delivery man when the food arrives, for example. Yeah. I don't know if it was your question. And for example, some tools that we use to do the whole are very different, and each UX designer have different tools. I use a lot of Figma, but I see that some people use Adobe XD to do the whole uh, design. I use a lot, I sketch a lot in paper. And yeah, Figma is our main tool. We share with the developers all the things through Figma.
Well, and the part of the UX, yeah, I see it mostly like a tool for testing results. Am I wrong? I mean, what can we use at the development stage before the user or the final user is using the application? I mean, because what you mentioned were tools to analyze the final result. But do we have some best practices or recommendations for better UX?
Yes. For example, we have usability tests that with the projects that I work. For example, I can, for example, put a user to watch the whole design, and I watch how the user interact with my design, and they tell me, oh, this button is not good for me because maybe you can change the size, or maybe yes, we have usability tests. We can, for example, we can do in affordable way. You can record the users, maybe, I don't know, in the with the interactive prototype, they can like touch it and feel it like is the real product. Um, yes, you can share the link with them. And this is one thing that we do here at Simpat. For example, I do a demo with the client, and he is he tell me what is good or what is not good for the design, and which kind of things we have to change, what he expects of each screen, for example. And yeah, we do that, a demo, an interactive demo with Figma.
Excellent. Thank you, Marcela.
Okay, you're welcome. And another question. Yeah, if you want, I can share you a demo, and I can show you later a demo if you want.
Yes, thank you. It would be
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes, you can touch it. For example, you can click on the bottom, and you can feel like it's the real product, but it's not. It's just like on your screen, and but it feels.
Is this thing of HOTJAR?
No, in Figma. In Figma,
Okay.
it's just for interact with the product. Yes, if you want, for example, look for HotJar. HotJar is a tool that you put into your app or into your website, but it's like an extension that you put with a code, and you buy a plan, for example, and HOTJAR gives you the analytics of your website. But this is for you as a owner of the product. It's not for the user. The user cannot see the analysis, just you as a owner of the product. Yes, it's for you to improve or to analyze.
The user behavior.
Yes, the user behavior, correct. Anyone? Okay, I think it's all. I'm going to stop share the screen.